Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Timeless Movie Podcast, episode number 159. My name is Victor Vasquez. Appreciate you joining me on this episode and this channel where all we do is talk about new movies that come out in theaters or in streaming. I'll give you my own opinions and thoughts about these movies. And at the end of the podcast, we will then wrap it up and decide, after watching this movie once, is it timeless? Is it something that I can see myself rewatching in the future various different times and maybe even want to own it on Blu-ray or physical media? Hope you guys have been having a great week so far. We have a lot of movies that are coming out in October, still playing a little bit of catch up, which is why the movie that we're going to be talking about this week came out a little bit later. And we got even more exciting movies to talk about in November. So if you want to follow the Timeless Movie Podcast channel, please subscribe, follow us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We have an email. It's in the description here, timelessmoviepod@gmail.com. Reach out to me. Let me know which movie you are excited for and have really high on your anticipation list. That way we can really have a good conversation about some of these upcoming movies. But speaking of different movies that we've seen already in the month of October, I did want to highlight that episode 158 of the Timeless Movie Podcast is available on those platforms that I had just mentioned. And the movie that we ended up talking about was the film by Catherine Bigelow called A House of Dynamite. It's actually available on Netflix right now. Go check out that episode. I enjoyed the movie, but there was a couple things that just did not work for me. So if you want to hear all of those thoughts and whether I thought A House of Dynamite was timeless, then check out episode 158 of the Timeless Movie Podcast. All right, enough of the housekeeping. Let us jump into the film that we're talking about this week. It is a musical biopic directed by Scott Cooper, and it is called Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere. Right off the bat, just want to give you guys a little bit of the background. I am not a huge fan of Bruce Springsteen. His music, I just haven't had a good opportunity and a good window, if that makes sense. I feel like as we go through our lives and we're listening to different artists, there's always these random periods where you just pick up somebody's music and you just start going all in on their catalog. And for Bruce Springsteen, I just haven't had that moment, but maybe this could be the jumping off point. So just wanted to lay the groundwork in regards to my knowledge, which is basically zero about Bruce Springsteen. I know his song Born in the USA, so that's really my only reference point. So please don't come at me and start saying like all this crap about, hey, well, you don't know anything. Well, I'm just telling you right here up front, I actually don't know anything. But that's where you guys come in. Let me know in the comments. Send me an email. What would you guys recommend? If you are a big fan of Bruce Springsteen, what are some of those songs, albums that I really need to check out? Because I do want to listen to more of his music as well. With that out of the way, let's go ahead now and dive into the non-spoiler section of the Timeless Movie Podcast so we can talk a little bit more about Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere. All right, like I mentioned a little bit before, Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere, and I think I'm going to cut it down to just saying Springsteen because that's a long movie title. This film is directed by Scott Cooper, who has made prior films like Black Mass, as well as The Pale Blue Eye and Hostiles. This is actually one of the first movies in a while that I've seen of Scott Cooper. The last film I saw was The Pale Blue Eye with Christian Bale. Thought it was pretty good. Don't have a lot of memories about it, but in this film for Springsteen, he has a cast that includes Jeremy Allen White, Jeremy Strong, Odessa Young, Stephen Graham, and Paul Walter Hauser. So in the film, Springsteen, Delivery from Nowhere, what this film essentially is about is taking place at a moment in Bruce Springsteen's career. The year is exactly 1981. And in this year, we basically follow Bruce after he has wrapped up one of his tours. He wants to take a break, lay low, and so his manager, John, ends up getting him a house in New Jersey. However, what you end up realizing, again, especially for me, that is not a huge fan and doesn't know the history of Bruce Springsteen, New Jersey was where he grew up, and so he ends up getting a home very close to where he ended up growing up with his parents. And then you start seeing him kind of deal with a little bit of his past. And so in this process, not only is he dealing with different flashbacks that he experiences about his father, but he also starts coming up with concepts and ideas of different songs that he wants to create or different sounds. And so he's now trying to balance these two different types of elements that are impacting his life. One is the success that he's about to have. He's getting the pressure from a lot of executives that they're really looking for a hit album in the next record that he comes out with. But he's also kind of worried about the success and worried that it's going to change him in some way. And he doesn't want to forget about his past, but it's also the past that's kind of keeping him from being able to really evolve into something else as well. So essentially, Bruce in this film is juggling those two kind of sides. He's juggling the past, but he's also juggling the future in that kind of a way. Overall, after watching this movie, I thought Springsteen Deliver Me From Nowhere was pretty good. I enjoyed the film in regards to highlighting just a glimpse of Bruce Springsteen's career. That's actually one of the benefits that I find in regards to musical biopics. And some of the trends that I've seen so far, like when we watched A Complete Unknown late last year in 2024, that was really just a moment in time in Bob Dylan's career. And Springsteen does no different. It just shows you 1 year, right in that specific moment. What is Bruce feeling? What are these types of emotions that he's going through? What are the struggles that he faces with, again, the pressure of coming up with new music? What kind of a sound is he looking for? And how much of a perfectionist he really was. So I think what makes a successful biopic, at least in this age of 2025, is rather than showing from beginning to end the entire history of an artist, I actually like that they just pinpoint a specific window. Just give us a little bit of a taste, the atmosphere of what this artist is going through. And I think that succeeded for the most part in this movie. It's not perfect. There are different elements that I will call out. Well, really just one big element that just didn't really work for me. So with that said, let's go ahead and segue over into the pros and cons. That way we can really highlight a little bit more about what worked and didn't work for Springsteen Deliver Me From Nowhere. Okay, let's jump into the first pro that I have for Springsteen, which is I really enjoyed the dynamic between Bruce, who was played by Jeremy Allen White, and his manager John, played by Jeremy Grant, as well as the love interest between Bruce and Faye. And Faye is played by actress Odessa Young. Those dynamics between Bruce and Faye or Bruce and John, that just really worked for me. Like right from the get-go, you have this interaction between John and Bruce, and you could tell that they're very friendly with each other. And then same thing with Faye and Bruce. You could tell that there's a lot of chemistry. You could see that they really are into each other. And you also see a little bit of the challenge that Bruce faces with committing to being in a relationship with Faye. So again, those aspects really made the experience a lot more enjoyable, is that I actually felt that there was really good chemistry between, again, friendship of John and Bruce, as well as the more romantic side of it of Faye and Bruce. Also, one thing that I really like to call out when it comes to, manager and artist relationships, a lot of times I feel like films in this musical biopiece space will want to kind of make a divide between an artist and a manager, especially if they're very friendly from the beginning. In this film, there isn't any of that, and it's very refreshing. It feels very cool that you have a manager and a artist that respect each other. Yes, there are going to be ups and downs, but they still love each other. And that I thought was really well established within the Springsteen film. Okay, second pro for me of Springsteen is highlighting Bruce's struggle with how his career is changing after the success of his last album. So this actually was from the perspective of, again, Bruce going through that challenge of, hey, well, the studio really wants me to make another hit record, but I have something else in mind. I have this thought in my head now that I'm back in New Jersey. I'm back home, and I feel like this sound, this old school type of a vibe is really what I want to go for. And seeing him kind of go through that was just really engaging, especially from me. I am not a talent in anything really, in anything musical, athletic ability. So to me, when I ever see an athlete or whenever I see a musician kind of go through those kind of processes, it's very cool because you can kind of get the mindset as to how much of a perfectionist are they, how much they really want to nail a specific sound. And if one little thing is off, their whole life is just kind of in shambles. And that's exactly what happens to Bruce in this film. He's recording for the new album that he's going to call Nebraska, and He came up with lyrics. He has this very unique take of adding echo to the sound of it, and everybody's confused. And yet, whenever they try to change the master of that track into more of a modern sound, it just doesn't work for Bruce. And so you see that struggle. You see him resisting trying to make a hit. Everybody's expecting him to go one way, and he just completely shifts to another. And so just seeing that struggle and him not wanting to, it almost seems like he's resisting becoming successful. He wants to almost make something that is so out of the blue that it just catches everybody off guard. And so I thought that was really well done by Jeremy Allen White to kind of at least portray that in Bruce, in order to see, like, hey, everybody tells him, like, hey, I can't wait for your next record, or I know that you're going to be the next superstar, and he's always rejecting, like, no, that's not what I want. No, I don't want to see that. Even when he listens to the radio, anytime one of his songs come on and it's on the top 10 charts, he immediately changes it because he doesn't want that pressure or that feeling in his head. And so that challenge overall, I thought they really did a great job to kind of show that on the screen. Okay, then last pro, very easy one for me, the costume design of this film. For some reason, musical biopics, and I mean, it makes sense, right? You have so much history of these artists, and you're able to pull different types of either shots from when they're touring or any kind of magazine insert that they are a part of. And so anytime Bruce was wearing a leather jacket, it just looked so damn cool. Jeremy Allen White just looked so sleek. He looked like an actual superstar. So every time he was in a leather jacket, just going and even in his flannels, he looked like just like a superstar. You just felt that energy from him. Also want to shout out Faye, the love interest, Odessa Young. She also had some really cool outfits with like the denim jackets paired up with the denim jeans. And so everybody in this film had a very unique style. Even John. Overall, everybody's outfits in this film just fit the time that they were trying to portray, which is the 1980s. All right, let's now lean into the con section and really just go into that one specific nitpick. This is going to be very weird, and it's almost not even a negative. It's more so just my curiosity as to what the connection might be. And what that con essentially is in regards to Bruce's motivation of Nebraska is based on a movie that he sees on screen called Badlands. And then also learning that Badlands, the film, which is a real movie, is based off of a serial killer named Starkwater, I believe, or Starkweather, I'm sorry. I was truly trying to, throughout the movie, understand, like, well, what was the basis? Like, why did he get so infatuated with that specific story? What was it about that, like, he felt like he needed to create lyrics? And almost, in a way, the lyrics, he writes them first from the perspective of the Starkweather character, and then eventually he changes it to himself. So that was kind of like just me and my curiosity. If you guys know more about that kind of an idea, I don't think the film really portrays or shows or explains why he kind of got so infatuated with that. But I'm just really curious, like, what was the connection? I know that after doing a little bit more research, the Badlands film is essentially about a man and a woman that are in love and they run away after they commit a crime. And so I don't know if that was kind of insinuating that Bruce wanted to run away because of the success that he's feeling, as well as the relationship with his father. So I don't know, that was just like my one little thing of what was the connection and why that was so heavily focused in the first act. I just wanted a little bit more in regards to, not the film explaining it, but maybe through the lyrics and highlighting a little bit more as to why it felt so personal to Bruce. But that could just be me. Again, I may have overlooked something. It's most likely the case that I overlooked a specific detail in the plot, but that was really my only nitpick, is my curiosity of why that connection to the movie, or why the connection to Starkweather, which is like a serial killer. Like, I just didn't know where that all played out and how important that may have been to Bruce, or why he felt like that story was something he wanted to tell. All right, let's now move on to the next segment, which is, should you guys as the audience check this movie out in theaters? Is it worth your time to be able to go out right now to a local movie theater and check this one out? My personal opinion is, if you are a big-time Bruce Springsteen fan, I would say, yeah, go check it out. You're going to enjoy some of the musical elements that they'll include there, but it's a very focused on Bruce's character, what he's going through, some of the feelings of just being so down. You see that within the performance. In some cases, I wouldn't say he's depressed the entire time, but you see some elements of it. If you're not a huge Bruce Springsteen fan like myself, you maybe like biopics here and there, I would say that you don't have to go out to theaters and watch this. You could probably wait for streaming and then check it out. It's still very interesting just to kind of get to know how somebody that is being impacted by his past and how that might influence some of the music that he wants to make going forward. I think that's just a very interesting take. But again, that'll be my opinion. If you're not a huge fan, this can be something that you can wait for streaming. All right, everybody. Those are all the thoughts that I had in regards to Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere. Let's now move into the spoiler section of this podcast where we start kind of giving a little bit more details away. So if you don't want to be spoiled about Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere, please jump out of the video now, watch the movie, then come back, and that way we can have a really good discussion either via email at the timelessmoviepod@gmail.com or in the comment section wherever you are listening to this podcast. All right, hopefully that gave you enough time in order to not be spoiled. So let's jump in now to the spoiler section in which we are now going to decide the number one question of this podcast: is Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere, a timeless movie? In my personal opinion, this is just me, I am thinking that Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere is not a timeless movie. The biggest reason I think I can say in regards to why I don't consider it a timeless movie is I felt like there was, even though it was engaging, even though it was interesting to know more about an artist that I'm not familiar with, I don't think there was anything as captivating in regards to the performances or in the musical setting that really just got my attention. I can give an example. When I watched A Complete Unknown, which is the story about Bob Dylan, I'm not a huge Bob Dylan fan, but the musical performances in that film were just incredible. They were so, enticing. You immediately got put into whether Bob Dylan was at a bar, whether he was at a specific stage in a theater. You felt like you were in the room with him while he was performing, and you were listening to every single word he would say. In this film, Springsteen, because the focus isn't as much on the musical performances, rather it's much more of the internal battle that Bruce is going through, there isn't anything in regards to the music that really captivates you. Now, that's not to say that there isn't any music that is being played. There's a ton of music that you actually see Bruce play. Some of the songs from Nebraska, you see him record different types of tracks. You see him eventually record a little bit of Born in the USA. So there are elements there, but I don't know. I wish there was a little bit more of an interesting element from his life that would have just left me like, whoa, okay, I can't wait to watch this back and see this moment or see this scene or watch this musical performance. I don't know if that's really a great way to articulate it, but I just wanted something that was much more impactful or that at least packed a punch that made me just want to revisit that or live in that moment a little bit more. I just didn't feel it. Even though I enjoyed the performances of Jeremy Allen White, as well as Jeremy Strong and Odessa Young, I don't know. There was something about the film that just, there wasn't as much of an interesting factor of it that made me just completely blow me away. And so that was one of the reasons. Second reason, a little bit more simple, and I won't be as verbose. The second reason I think it's not timeless is because I don't feel like, Bruce Springsteen is a artist that I'm really just tuned into right now. So that's probably the easier reason. If it was an artist that I really loved or I dug their music, I feel like that would have changed my perspective on it. But again, that's just a personal thing on my side. However, never want to end it on a negative note just because I don't think it's timeless. Doesn't mean I don't like the movie. I still recommend you guys watch it when it becomes available for streaming. So let's give out a couple of awards. What are some things that I really enjoyed about the movie that I want to give some recognition to? First award, MVP. Who is the most valuable piece of this movie? In my opinion, Jeremy Allen White does a great job, but I'm going to give the MVP to Jeremy Strong as John, the manager. Once again, I got to bring it back. His friendship to Bruce and fighting for him with executives, with sound engineers, there is just so much that John has to do in order to make sure that Bruce is happy and never feels like he's compromising. And just seeing that friendship and really feeling like there's an actual kinship between John and Bruce, it just felt so cool. And so I want to give a shout out to Jeremy Strong. He did a really great job as John, but I just liked that relationship and dynamic of just John doing whatever he can to make his client happy, to make his friend happy in Bruce. So that's if he wanted to completely shift tones and sounds, then he was going to be behind Bruce every step of the way. So that is my MVP for Springsteen, which is John, the manager of Bruce. Favorite scene in this film? That award is actually going to go to Faye and Bruce. They're in the diner where Faye currently works, and Faye ends up just dropping truth on Bruce. There's a point where Bruce is basically telling Faye that he's going to be leaving, going to Los Angeles, and he just wants to start something different. And he feels like he's not ready to commit to their relationship. And Faye just drops that knowledge on him and basically tells him, hey, you're just running away. If you keep running away from all your problems, you're never going to grow. You're never going to evolve. And eventually, it's a very heartfelt moment. A lot of emotion, tears are running down Faye's face. And then eventually, after you have Bruce go cross country to Los Angeles, halfway through when they're in Texas, he then realizes under his breath, damn, that she was right. I am running away. I am not trying to face these challenges and fears, and I feel like I'm just spiraling. And so that emotional moment between Faye and Bruce, I thought was really well performed by both Odessa Young and Jeremy Allen White. So that is my favorite scene of the film. And then favorite shot. What is a cinematic shot that could almost be a poster? It actually comes out in the trailer, but there's a moment where Bruce is in this house in New Jersey and he's recording some of these tracks that he's doing for Nebraska, the album. And at one point, you just hear the sound of the track, you hear the echo of it, and then you just see Bruce standing outside the balcony. He's right by a little river or lake, and you could just see the sun setting between two trees. It's just a beautiful shot of just nature around Bruce while he's contemplating, like, is this the sound that I really want to work on for the next couple of weeks or months? And so that one shot was really well done in regards to the cinematography. All right, everybody, those are all of my spoiler thoughts in regards to Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere. Like I always like to say, those are just my opinions and my thoughts on this film. But what are your thoughts and opinions? I want to hear from all of you that are listening. Did you enjoy Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere? Is he one of your favorite artists? If so, let me know down below if you agree or disagree with some of the things and items that I brought up. And also, please educate me. What are some of the albums that I should be looking out for and listening to? What order should I just go? Should I just start from the beginning and then go up to more of his modern stuff? Again, you guys let me know as the experts or any fans of Bruce Springsteen. Would love to hear your guys' input on this artist. All right, everybody. Appreciate you guys listening to my full thoughts on Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere. My name is Victor Vasquez. This has been episode number 159 of the Timeless Movie Podcast. Make sure to check out next episode number 160, in which we have my brother Omar joining us, and we'll be talking about a new movie and deciding whether it is timeless. All right, everybody. Appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll talk to you later.